Welcome to the MTV studio. I'm Kat Hurd. I'm here with Dr. Doug Beall. Dr. Beall,
yes.
An amazing ASPN meeting. You are so involved in so many wonderful facets of interventional pain and really bridging the gap. Talking so much about, we were just talking about interventional radiology as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to just give you the floor. What has you most excited right now about where the specialty is headed?
I think probably the most special thing about this whole genre is we've gotten past just the opening. We're at past the toe of the logarithmic curve going up. So we've gone from injections, combination of that with RF ablations, radiofrequency ablations for tumor, vertebral augmentation, and some of the traditional aspects of it. And we've gone to the next stage. For example, we're now doing treatments for the intervertebral disc. You know, cells, gels, cross-linking nanotethers, oligonucleotide decoys, and all of these have really pretty good data. So one of our colleagues has this famous slide. It says, the disc is where all good therapies go to die. And there's been so many, probably 12, 13, 14 trials that have turned out just with some promise at the beginning, turned out to be nothing. And now we're seeing things that we're seeing, you know, 60 to 75% improvement in pain and function all the way out to 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
And we're seeing a differing type of treatment. So somebody has a bad disc, modified Fuhrman grade 8 scale only goes to 8. You would never use regenerative therapy because it's too far gone. Now we have the capability of using hydrogels, you know, the fix-a-flat for a disc.
Yep.
We have oligonucleotide decoys that decrease the pain like 95% at the end of the trial. I mean, it's just, you know, results that are really hard to believe. Results of the 3-year data for the hydrophil trial, the hydrogel. I mean, 80% improvement in function, 70% improvement in pain at 3 years. I mean, these are really promising pieces of data that none of this treatment existed 10 years ago.
It's just incredible to hear you share those numbers and think about the patient lives that will be impacted as these biologics and different augmentations really evolve. When you decide where to invest your time and energy from, you know, a clinical research standpoint, how do you pick? Because there is so much innovation.
Yeah, I want to pick whatever's most common. You know, so I did residency at a hospital in Baltimore.
Okay.
And the guy that was at the time, our MRI program director or chief of the section was a guy named Elias Zerhouni. And he later went on to become head of the NIH. And so he used to say, he's a very successful researcher. He used to say, look, research what's common. This is what people care about. And so what I like to put my time and energy into in the research are things that are common. Look, I like back pain.
Yeah. Right?
Garden variety back pain. What's more common than that? You know,
not much.
80% lifetime debilitating incidence of back pain. That means 80% of everybody at some point in time will be down. I mean, out of work, away from you know, their family and friends. They're suffering, and this is something that we actually can do something about. Let me give you a good comparison. So basivertebral nerve ablation has been all the rage for 3 or 4 years now. This was a 17-year overnight success. Yeah. You know, Antonacci described this a long time ago. We've known about the basivertebral nerve for a long time. It takes a while. It takes investment. It takes data to get to the point where you know, we have good data now. And the level 1 trials and the prospective single-arm trial gives us the ability to say things like it's the rule of 75s. 75% of people respond to it. Your average pain reduction is 75%, and it appears to be permanent or durable.
Wow.
And so in a conversation with the Blue Cross about HCSC about 3 weeks ago, we were talking to Blue Cross that governs Texas, Oklahoma, and Illinois. And they said, you know, Dr. Beall, do you have any closing statements, anything that you'd like to say? And I said, yes, I have about 15 seconds worth. So basivertebral nerve ablation as compared to spine fusion, which is only natural competitor, anything that you can compare to, is 2.5 to 3 times better. It's 5 times cheaper. There's no incisions, no recovery. There's no adjacent segment disease. There's no long-term fallout. And it is ostensibly permanent or durable. So why would you not cover this first?
And did they respond?
No. It's hard to respond to.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, you take it from an outcomes perspective. It's much better in terms of outcomes. You take it from an actuarial standpoint, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
It's faster. It's the recovery time is less. There's no downside. There's no.
It feels irrefutable.
It's irrefutable. Yeah. If you fuse somebody's spine, the rate of adjacent segment disease needing additional surgery is 3 to 14% per year. So it depends. It depends on how old you are. So if you had something that you needed a spine fusion, the issue with you is you have a lot of per years to go.
Yeah.
Right. That incidence of you potentially needing additional, this goes up and up, and there's no cap on that except for when you finish your time here on Earth.
Yeah.
So I would rather have something that has no adjacent segment disease and that is more effective. And so things like that. So things in the disc, things around the disc,
right.
Percutaneous ways of minifying big procedures. Mm-hmm. So if you do need a fusion, well, maybe we should start with a small fusion just in the back. If you need something, we'll go to the front. Yeah. If you need a front and back fusion, maybe we'll do it through an incision like this. Mm-hmm. So here's traditional surgery, right? MIS surgery is like this. MMIS, more minimally invasive surgery, is percutaneous. It's a small little poke hole or something like that.
Well, and you've been instrumental in really spearheading so many of those therapies to market. I think of Minuteman, I think of, some of the interspinous spacers and all of the various things. And you mentioned Blue Cross. You've also been very instrumental in payer policy across all facets of the industry. Where do you see, being as plugged into policy as you are, where do you see the trends or the companies heading? What are they limiting? What are you worried about? What keeps you up at night in terms of policy?
So here's what I'm worried about. Here's what I would like. If I had to, here's what I dream about. This is what I really sit at home and think. This is what I really want. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
So if I had access to all the tools that were currently available to people now, mm-hmm. and if I could have them to use on whoever I wanted to, regardless of insurance reimbursement, the world would be very good for people.
Yeah.
Be good for me because I'd have the satisfaction of treating patients. Mm-hmm. It'd be really good for those patients. So discogenic back pain. So let me give you an example. 24-year-old, had a previous accident, had 2 levels, 2, 3, 3, 4, mm-hmm. Purely discogenic back pain, 7 out of 10 permanent pain, and there's no option. The option should be something regenerative. So I had the option of enrolling her in the Viadis trial. Mm-hmm. I treated her with Viadis. She's a family member. Mm. And so this kind of is ethically a little bit questionable, but, I'm sorry, I don't want anybody working on my family members except for me.
Yeah,
and so,
of course.
Fast forward, see her at Christmas time, 6 months later, how you doing? She goes, oh, look, well, I'm doing really good. Picks her boyfriend up, who is, probably 100 pounds heavier than she is, lifts him up like this. Look how good I'm doing. I mean, like, well, don't do that, right? I mean, that's great and all, but,
yeah, but don't do that. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the kind of thing, 24 years old, insured by Blue Cross, yes. Not paid for.
Yeah.
If she were Medicare, I could get reimbursement for it. Medicare covers it. But Medicare is 65 or over, or those that are disabled, special circumstances. The people who have discogenic pain are the same people who have disc herniations. Yeah. They are 25 to 40 years old. They're not 65 to 80 years old. Yeah. But yet, the commercial insurances that cover all of this patient population, that working in the throes of building families, having kids, trying to go to school, be productive members of society, have no access to this. No access. And these are easy problems. These are easy problems. Yeah. And sure, it's $5,000 out of your pocket for a cash pay for this, sometimes a lot more depending on where you are. Yeah. But I mean, I live in one of the 5 poorest states in the country. I don't have people with $5,000 burning a hole in their pocket ready to treat their discogenic back pain. And it's unfortunate. So the problem moving forward for this is reimbursement, mm-hmm. and pre-authorization, whatever hurdles come up.
Right.
Insurance companies have become no machines. No. Knee-jerk reflex, knowing that most of those no's, and no, it covers the whole gamut. It doesn't necessarily cover neuro, ortho, IR, pain. It covers primary care.
Oh, of course.
Peds,
yeah.
Everything. And most of the time when somebody says no, an insurance company says no, I've heard the statistic, 88% of the time, nobody appeals.
Just walk away.
Nobody appeals. For me, if I say I need something, it's because I would need it, Yeah. And otherwise, There might be a backup plan that is not as good as the previous plan. A lot of times there's no backup plan. There's nothing available. That's, dealing with some of the new stuff. It can be frustrating that
Yeah.
much. So if it's not available, it's not covered by insurance companies.
Absolutely.
A lot of times you can't use it. And it's not really to my detriment, although it really is. I take that personally. But it's, the patient being hurt. It's the person that has the insurance that are making their payments for that insurance that are being hurt by it.
Yeah. Well, and it limits, you're not practicing medicine. You are, kind of subjugating yourself to the insurance as a provider at this current state. And I know we talked with Dr. Chakrabarty this morning, and he mentioned, his priorities for Aspen as he steps into the president role. Policy was one of them.
Yes.
And so, it's so important to hear the work that you all are doing. And I think also understanding how you see the partnership with industry in that, because I think, certainly you all as the clinicians have to be the advocates, but there is firepower that industry can help with. So how do you leverage your industry partners or lean on them for some of this policy work?
I leverage them heavily.
Yeah.
So the decision about who to work with and why. You work with the company here because they have a solution that needs to be implemented.
Right.
And so whenever you start that relationship, it's a go, right? Let's go, let's do this, let's collaborate, let's partner. They extend my capability of what to do.
Yeah.
They provide me information that I need. They provide me some of the basic science research papers that they have people go out and find. And, they do things that expands my time. And then I can go out, I can advocate, I can do the research, I can advocate for payment, I can advocate on, whatever committee needs to be at. My call with Blue Cross, by the time I get on the call 2 years ago, they're calling me by my first name. We've talked so much.
Yeah.
You get on a Zoom call with a Medicare MAC, Medicare Administrative Contractor.
Yeah.
The medical director, hey, calls you by your first name. You spent, and it's seemingly, you really shouldn't have to spend that much time to do what's right, to get, good products and good treatments available for people. But listen, that's the game.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about. That's what I wish we would be able to move. I think as a society, that's what we push forward.
Yeah.
We get people, first is to be aware of it. Did you know that this is happening? And most people do not know. Here's what we need to do about it. Here's advocacy. And if you're interested in this, our currency is our data, our research.
Of course.
This is what tells us what the right thing to do. So we partner with industry. We get data. We produce data, and we make sure the data is really good quality, high quality data, and we publish it. We talk about it. We talk to our colleagues. We talk to the public about it. It's kind of in our partnership with industry, and I have a lot of industry partnerships. But I have a lot of interest in our partners, like how to improve each segment of what we treat. Somebody comes with a back pain. Back pain could be due to a pinched nerve. It could be due to a nerve that's irritated. It could be due to a vertebral body fracture, facet arthropathy, degenerative disc disease, vertebrogenic back pain. It could be due to a tumor, an infection, trauma. And there's so many segments. And the first is diagnosis. Get the right diagnosis. The second is figure out the best treatment. Less is more. Least invasive thing first. It's measure twice, cut once, or not at all. It's these things. Inverse pyramid of stomatos. Industry helps us do this. To take something, the last thing we took to a 510K approval cost us nearly $1 million.
Wow. What was that, if you don't mind sharing?
It's Kypho Cube, something that you haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
But
well, that's exciting. I don't know how much more you want to say about that, but yeah, I just like the financial investment, the time investment. I don't know if you ever count up the hours that you spend on policy work and advocacy work in a week, but it sounds like a lot.
Oh, it's tremendous.
And it's taking you away from the care of your patients, but it's also necessary because if you don't do that work, then you can't care for your patients. And what a conundrum you all are in as clinicians with.
It's all right. It's been an extra time. The secret is it's before and after clinic, before and after the OR. My conference calls start in the morning and they end in the late evening. And sometimes I'm not the most popular guy in the house after I get home. Sometimes I'm still on the conference call when I get home. Yeah. And, I get a bunch of eye rolls. I get a bunch of, so but it's also, they come here and they, my wife accompanies me to the meeting. She comes here and she's like, oh, this is really pretty cool. Yeah. And she sees the other side of it.
I was gonna say, please thank her on our behalf, because the work that you're doing to, advance care, advance therapy, advance access is so important. I know you also have some work in terms of creating collaborative pathways and building a bridge between, the spine world, the pain world.
Yeah.
I'd love if you want to share a little bit about that.
Sure. My perspective really is I'm an interventional radiologist, right? I've been around pegging a square hole my whole career.
You have.
And, most of the people here, I know 3 or 4 other radiologists here. That's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, so we're really in the distinct minority. I see things differently. It took me a while to really realize that. Each specialty has their own personality. Each specialty has their fastball, the thing that they really do great. And each specialty has their weaknesses. And so, my wife says I haven't had a new idea since 1992, but I steal lots of other ideas from other specialties and other places.
Hey.
And, just whatever works. So no, the exposure, the greatest degree of growth, intellectually, scientifically, personally, comes from the periphery, seeing new things. Your exposure to different, and for me, that's exposure to different specialties. I've learned a lot from my surgeon colleagues, and I've learned a lot, and I've learned that surgeons are really different. Orthopedics, orthospine is really different than neurosurgery. It's really different than endoscopists. Are really different than IRs, are really different than neuro-IRs, MSK IRs. People don't even know.
Yeah.
And, my partner, the guy I work with, is a neuro IR, and his practice is very different. His perspective is also very different than mine, but you learn a lot from that. And so I think the intermingling, the learning from other specialties is really maybe the single most important thing. And that's, hopefully that's what I'm trying to push ASPN to do, to integrate. And you don't have to push very hard because everybody else is pushing in the same direction.
Absolutely.
To have really a good melting pot. So we're at the periphery, we can maximize our learning.
Yeah. And that's where it's those edges when you lean into them, to your point, that's where the growth and expansion happens. And it's also, it's part of what I know the focus is in the young innovators in this new MIS, certification process that you all are going to have, because that's so important too, as you expand and, extend your edges and learn all these great new techniques and applications. Pain in the last decade has evolved so much, and the training hasn't changed, the length of time from a training standpoint. So what's, I'd love to hear from you on the additional certification process and what excites you about that throughout.
So the length of time hasn't changed at all. So I have a fellowship program, and it is hard. I tell my fellows come in, this is going to be hard. Is it, people ask me if it's a marathon or a sprint. It's a 26.2 mile sprint, and you're leaning into the tape at the end to be able to learn all this stuff. Sure, there are things we do every day. There's things we do once a year, twice a year, a handful of times. How are you going to understand the application, the patient selection, the appropriate application when you do something twice a year? That's a challenge.
Yeah.
There's a challenge, and to make sure you're skillful throughout all of that. Certification to me doesn't really mean certification. Certification means I can vouch personally for this guy or gal that they are good at what they do. That's certification. Certification, so what is a fellowship or residency training? It's an apprenticeship. That's a good old-fashioned apprenticeship. And certification shouldn't mean that you got out, you have a piece of paper, you can do it. So that piece of paper should reflect your ability to work and play well with others and to establish your craft as an apprentice in this relationship between, attending physician fellowship, program director, residency director, and the person that's coming through. You have to have the ability to instruct that person, to show them how to do this, to teach them and let them know what they need to know to be able to be a really good practitioner.
Yeah.
And if you haven't done that, you failed, and you can't. This is to my peers.
Yeah.
You failed. You can't rely on that certificate to say this person's okay, because if you haven't done your job, they're not okay. So the ability to put the certification, the MIS certification, what that means is we're trying to help people help themselves about being really good. So yeah, maybe we need to do some MIS surgery. Well, why don't you go spend some time with Larry Koo, right over here? He's kind of one of the fathers of MIS. You want to do spine endoscopy, right? Let's get you Dr. Kumar, who is just fantastic at spine endoscopy. You want to do some vertebral augmentation? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. You'll be happy to show you vertebral augmentation tips and tricks. And this is part of the ability to take people. We have this because there's too much to learn in fellowship. There's too much to learn in residency and fellowship to get out and be utterly competent in everything that you need now, because it's grown so much.
Yeah. Well, and I think the importance too is to help people understand that you won't have full mastery after that year of fellowship, and that, you know, extended training and continual learning and leaning into the edges is just critical to expanding your knowledge as a physician.
Look, that's just the way it is. 95% of what I do today, I never learned in residency or fellowship. And that sounds strange, and people might, wow, that's very odd and it's horrifying. But I want you to remember, so, you know, I graduated residency in 98, right? So, I mean, do you really want me to be doing medicine from 1998?
The answer is no.
No.
So we're glad that you've
or,
expanded.
you know, older guys than I am practicing medicine from, you know, was all the rage in 1982. I mean, the world has changed a lot, and medicine's changed even faster than that. So what you do, you don't learn everything. You learn how to keep learning, and you have a basic set of skills that it sounds strange, but I know I can do something I've never done before really well, right? Because your visual spatial skills you develop to the point where you've got the Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours of this, and you're really good at it. And that's where you want to be. You want to build to the point where you're really comfortable and confident, regardless of taking on a new skill. You'll know what to do and how.
Well, and I have to imagine that's going to be a core component of that MIS certification with ASPN, is building the confidence, and also just, you know, understanding the policy work, the advocacy, all the other things that you need to be doing as a physician to be at the tip of the spear.
That's part of the apprenticeship. You know, they look. I mean, you know, you just want to sit in there and do cases and not talk to the insurance companies. Hey, but so do I. I don't.
but it's not the world you live in.
I don't like doing peer-to-peer with somebody that I know is just going to turn me down for a case that he knows that I know that this needs to be approved, and it's still not. And I get the impression it's painful for these guys from the insurance companies, physicians doing the peer-to-peer, because they know that they're wrong, and they still have to say no anyway. So, but listen, this is life. If mama never said it was going to be easy.
It's true.
So I tell them, you're going to have to do it.
Worth it.
You have to do things that you don't want to do, but you do it for the greater good, because if you don't do it, don't count on anybody else to. And we have to move the needle. I have to be responsible. Take responsibility for your practice, your dealing with the insurance companies, your patients, and go with it.
Yeah. You demonstrate that to a T, absolutely, of just like taking responsibility and ownership. And what's so wonderful is you emulate that so strongly that people now follow.
Yeah.
And others are, you know, taking on this approach and building the advocacy and building the awareness and really pushing the edges within the space.
Yeah, you have to lead by example.
You do.
It's not always easy.
It isn't, but it is worth it. And again, I want you to thank your wife for us and your family, because the sacrifices that you have made in your personal life certainly have made a huge imprint and impact in this space. And so, Dr. Beall, as we close, I'd love to know, is there one thing that you are most excited for in what's next for interventional pain?
You know, I think probably the thing I'm most excited about is really the collaboration. You know, we've got the Global Spine Initiative. We have admixing of surgeons, interventional pain, IR. I mean, and you know, here's the real secret. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
The real secret is the personal relationships. That's what people care about.
Yep.
And, you know, come here and see your buddies, and it's great. It's wonderful. See your friends. So it's really the personal relationships that are made and fostered, and that really drives your professional development too. I mean, think back about your career, how you've gotten where you are.
Yeah.
And it's not like, well, I read the Iliad and Odyssey and I was smarter and then I got this position. You know, it's about people that helped you in the past.
Yeah.
And it's about, and all the things you've done, the better they are, the harder they are. And the harder they are, the more reward that you get back.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, this is the same thing. And so the collaboration is probably the strength, I mean, of having people to collaborate with. You have people that end up helping you. You have people end up showing you new things. And it's fun. You develop friendships along the way. You have a good time. I mean, sometimes you go out and misbehave every now and then. Not me, of course.
No, you're a perfect angel.
But some of my other friends. And I mean, That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, it really is. It's those relationships, and even just getting to have this conversation with you. We've gotten to know each other the past handful of years doing some of this advocacy and policy work together. And
Exactly.
it is the beauty of the collaboration across specialties, collaboration across industry. And it's part of what we're so excited to share with MTV Studio, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bringing this information and this knowledge to the masses, because then you shared, as we were talking, the awareness is so key.
Yeah, the communication is so.
Got to get it out there.
You know, people don't know, right?
No.
And they need to know the communication, getting this out there. There's lots of media outlets, there's lots of things, but there's not very many things that are longer segment formats. There's not very many things that are totally unscripted like this.
Yeah.
And this is very good information. I mean, this is authentic, and people want to see that.
They do.
And this is how they know. You know, I shoot videos from some of my courses. Every time I go someplace, people say, "Oh, you know, I know you from your videos."
I've watched so many YouTube videos of yours, Dr. Beall, as I've gone through my 15 years in industry. It is. It's sharing that knowledge, it's sharing the information, and helping connect people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah, because like you said, it goes back to those relationships, the connection,
it's
and
a
the
personal relationship. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it comes down to. Very much so.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time.
Kat,
I know you have so many things to do, so it was a pleasure.
A pleasure being here. Thank you.
Thank you.